Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today I will be talking about episode 3 and episode 4 respectively. I put this video off for two reasons, kind of. I wanted to do the Pride video because that was really important to me. I think that we should talk about queer characters even when it's not Pride Month, but I felt like it was the perfect almost halfway point. And I wanted to talk about that. So I decided to do that instead of doing episode 3. And episode 3 really made me think about how I wanted to go because it divided a lot of people. Now, for stupid reasons, in the sense, but also a lot of people that I follow that are mentally okay, people on Twitter, they, did kind of say, I don't know if it was the best episode. It had actually a lot of problems with it. And I appreciate that. I like when people bring up kind of, they bring up an opinion that they have in a respectful way. And I really appreciate that. And, I, of course, want to, these reviews are all my opinion. But when you are reviewing something, especially when it comes to Star Wars, you need to take a second and understand that just because you loved it and everything does not mean it is overall the best thing that you've seen. Because originally this was, I think, my favorite episode, and I do still actually hold on to that. It did actually make me cry. And I was waiting for Acolyte to do that. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but it did happen this episode, and that's just because I fell so deeply in love with these characters. But thinking about them a little bit more, there's not much that we know about them, even though we had the full episode. So I'm going to just go over my thoughts, but at the same time, I am going to kind of bring up people's issues with it and try to explain it in the best way possible, I guess. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I was really happy that we got a flashback for episode 3. I think this is not too soon within the series, but at the same time, I feel like it's a good breather. We know we were gonna go see Kalekna in, he's our next Jedi that we have to protect from May. So I was already expecting to see him. So I was happy that we got a flashback. And then episode 4, I'm definitely thinking it's going to have some Kalekna in it or something. So immediately, flashback. The golden tree. I immediately thought, okay, that's dangerous. Like, that's giving, what does that symbolize? And I didn't really see a lot of people talk about it that much. It was kind of where both Osha and May were just sitting there. I It was really bad. I don't know if it was just me, and I know they're played by two different actresses, but I could not it was very, very confusing to tell who was Osha and who was May. Like, I needed a difference in their appearance to pinpoint who was talking to who. I really didn't understand. Um, the only way I was able to differentiate them was May was always picking on Osha. Always. And quite honestly, that got really annoying really, really fast. Um, maybe we'll just leave that there for a bit and talk about them a bit later. But with the tree, like them standing next to each other, I was just like, oh my god, who is who? It was nice when they were trying to call each other by their names and stuff. So that was good. But I was just like, dude, I don't know. And then of course they weren't supposed to be outside the gates, so Coral has to come and get them, and we see young Soul for the first time. And yeah, immediately I was like, uh-oh, what are the Jedi doing there? Like, that's not good. So of course we have Mother Coral and Mother Anastasia, and they are immediately, we know that they're the caregivers of May and Osha, And for me, I mean, for one, lesbian witches are just super badass and really cool. But not even taking that, just their relationship with Osha and May are so real, and I appreciate that in the way that it's written, because we're like, okay, whatever, they're caregivers, like they want what's best for them. I don't feel the connection, but when we, Coral is very much more, she's, harder, more stern, and while Anasea is a bit more, a little bit kinder and friendlier. And you don't immediately hate Coral, though. And I didn't hate her either. I understood where both of them were coming from. Coral knows the dangers of what's outside the wall, which of course we learn is Jedi because the witches were banished. So she's definitely, it seems like she's lived through that, as well as Anasea. And Coral carried Osha and May. And of course, Anasea created them. And that creates just such a bond between Anasea and Coral. But it also gives reason as to why Coral wants what's best for the children, because they are a part of her. And I understand that. And I think a lot of people missed that. And especially from a just overall parents and kids standpoint, right? I do have a tweet that I want to share, and I'll share it in just a tiny, tiny bit. But it just encompassed basically what I was wanting to say so much better than I would have. So, May is definitely the one that attacks and wants to be a witch and wants to carry on the quote unquote coven. And while Osha wants to kind of stay on the sidelines, this wasn't ever really her choice, and she doesn't really care. And she wants to live outside the coven while May is content. They were put into exile, and the gift of life, which was May and Osha, which then we learned was Anasea. I love the score that they picked for this episode. I watched a spotlight that Star Wars did, that them talking about, they brought in a bunch of women and trans women from different places, different countries, and had their vocals represented. And just that time and care that they took to that, it was really great, and something that felt very personalized, and you connected even more with the witches. May was given an oath to protect the coven upon her mother's death, so definitely rising to the throne. And that is why she has the symbol on her head. That is the only way I can tell the two apart. That May has the symbol thing on her head, and of course, Osha was never put to ascension. So that does explain why she doesn't have the mark, which was really, for me, something great, because we immediately noticed that, okay, wait, Osha does not have the mark that May does. There's got to be something there. So I like that that was explained, and was really, really cool. I thought it was interesting, of course, when the Jedi arrive, I'm already like, oh, come on, man. Like, please. I was very much on the witch's side, and I was scared that Mother Anasea, like, was already going to be hostile, which would then give the Jedi a reason to take Osha and May away. And for me, that's quite honestly lazy writing. That's immediately where I thought it was going to go, because that's just kind of the, you know, plan of events, right? But I was very satisfied with Anasea saying she did not want violence and wanting to talk this out. And I appreciated that. I think that honestly humanized her a lot more and made me connect with her, in a way. Osha is the one who stepped out, and I was pissed. I was like, are you freaking kidding me, Osha? Like, come on. It's just like, the acting I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But Osha steps out, and it was interesting because it was not Anasea, Indara, sorry. It was Indara who kind of steps up and says, Republic law states that we have to test Force users. And immediately I'm like, ew, no, that's weird. And then, of course, Anastasia says, well, we're not in Republic jurisdiction. And that doesn't deter the Jedi at all. Literally, the witches are banished to this unknown region, unknown planet, and yet the Jedi still have tabs on them. Like, what the heck? So, Osha, of course, wants to go and train, and May is like, no, I don't want to. Like, what the heck? Which is totally fair. Like, May and Osha, of course, have their own choices, and I respect that, but it doesn't mean that both of them should train. What if both of them didn't want to go train? You know what I mean? Like, would the Jedi have even given them that opportunity? It's kind of convenient that Osha wants to train. Like, I'm wondering if there's more to that story. Um, of course, we learn Coral and Anastasia both, created and carried them. Um, I love this quote from Anastasia because I think it encompasses the Jedi, kind of near the High Republic era and then going into just the main Republic era. She says, this isn't about good or bad. It's about who gets to use it, which the Jedi are afraid. That's mainly why they want to train Force users. They are not guaranteed to come into the Jedi Order. They are very much persuaded to come into the Jedi Order, but they are afraid of other Force users, other religions using the Force in a different way that they don't understand. And this is what I love about the Acolyte, and what I specifically loved about this episode is that you have this in real life. You have different religions, and you have different people that use different ways of kind of reaching out to their god or their entity or gods. And for a lot of people, it scares people. People don't understand it, or they try to understand, but they think, oh, well, that's not healthy for the children. It's always about the children, right? So I think that the Jedi are in a place right now to where they are afraid of, with the Force being so mainstream and people knowing about the Force, they're afraid that people might start to take advantage of that and use it for ill will. So I think that was great, and I think that's something that people missed as well, but just the connection. We have the Night Sisters, right? And even then, that their magic was kind of dark and they helped Darth Maul, they were still purged by the Empire, by Palpatine, by Grievous, which we saw in Tales of the Empire. And I think that she makes a really good point. It's not about good or evil. It's not about if you're dark side or light side. It's about who is using it and how they are using it. And I think it brings such a nuance to the Force and to just the galaxy in general, which makes it really interesting. And yeah, it's great. So, of course, May talks with Kolekna. Although, no, it was Osha. Osha talks with Kolekna. See, this is my problem too, is like I just keep getting them confused. May goes in, and of course the girls are told to lie. So May goes in, she totally flunks it, and totally lies about it. While Osha talks with Kolekna, and he just seems so sweet. Like, I hope he didn't do anything wrong. Please. I really hope he didn't do anything wrong. And then finally, Osha goes in, and she starts to lie. And Saul, I think, knows because he's like, oh, very good, very good. And then Osha doesn't have confidence within herself. And she's like, oh no, I meant whatever. And then he was like, oh no, very good, very good. And it's just like, man, Osha, are you stupid? Like, she does so not want to fail this. Oh my god. It's just like, I don't know if it's the actor, which is another point that I need to talk about, or if it's just how she's written or the dialogue that she has. I just don't like young May or young Osha. They're very either annoying or not really, I don't connect with them as well as older Osha. And I don't really connect with May, just in general, but I connect with her more in her older years than I do in her younger, especially. I mean, the title of this video is May. Um, you know, May sucks. I'm a number one May hater. Mainly just because of how she acts. It's just really, it would make Osha want to drift away. And I know a lot of people saying, I, of course, am an only child, so I can't really say on the sibling standpoint if that's very true or not. And a lot of people say, no, yeah, I would want to kill my sister for that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Um, for me, though, it takes me out. It really does. It just feels like May is almost too angry and too evil, while Osha is almost too naive and doesn't really think about her actions at all, which is really frustrating to talk on screen. May already knows that Osha told the truth, which makes her super angry. For some reason, I, I don't know. Granted, Osha did promise May to not tell a secret, and then she did. So I do kind of find it fair that May gets angry at her. Just, it's almost too angry. It's like, hey, why are you freaking losing it? Like, calm down. Um, it is fair to ask the question that the Jedi have the opportunity to train children, but the consent from both sides is important, and pressuring the situation could be frustrating, which is what frustrates me. What I loved about it, though, is, of course, May's angry. She's pissed, and Coral takes May away, like screaming and kicking, and I'm like, what the hell? It's like she was possessed, and Anasea, I love her. She was mothering this entire episode, but what I was not expecting was for her to give Osha a choice and saying that if this is truly what you want, and I think it's because she didn't go through the ascension, but if this is truly what you want, I will talk it over with the council and we will try to support you in this decision. And I like to believe, now, of course, this might not happen because there's definitely both sides to this story. Um, I would like to believe that Anasea was truly good, and maybe, I hate saying this, but maybe Mother Coral turned on her or the rest of the council because she gave Osha that choice. And of course, May is the one who struggles, right? And May is the one that doesn't understand, which is almost a bit sad at this point. You would think May would be like, well, why do you want to leave? I don't understand. And she kind of does do that, but it's like she's not listening, and it's a little frustrated. Um, uh, the end of the episode goes by so quickly, and I know there are parts that definitely I know the Jedi had a hand in it. Why was Soul there? Of course, we see that Torben has a scar that he didn't have beforehand. So there's stuff that went down that we didn't know about originally. And so this is very much from the um, field of view with Osha. And I think that maybe episode 7, episode 6 will get a point of view from maybe Soul, Kalekna, or May, even. And I think that's going to tell a bit more of this story. But from what I saw here and what I'm going off of, I hate May. She freaking killed everyone. She was angry too. Well, then I will kill you. Like, it just seems so out of the blue, and it was almost like she was possessed. And that's kind of like where I'm honestly thinking it went right now, because it really frustrated me, and I I think it's because I'm an only child. I just couldn't connect with it as well because there is no, even my best friend, there is no way in hell that I would want to say I would want to kill them. I'm sorry. Like, even if they went against stuff, or they basically did what May was doing and we would have been together. Like, maybe it's just me, and maybe May is just not mentally okay. But it just seemed so out of left field, and she just seemed very almost too angry. It turned me off. I really was not rooting for May. And of course, the fire starts. Osha tries to escape. And bro, seeing Anasea and I think Coral, of course it was a whole bunch of bodies, but we definitely saw Anasea dead. Oh my god. I started crying. I was like losing it. And then Osha wanted to go back and like screaming for her mother. Oh my god. It was just like too much. It was too much. So, that scene was really, really good with the fire. And of course, May wanted to, the last dance, she wanted Osha to come with her. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, what happened? Like, you were just so angry you wanted to kill her. Like, I would want to get away from you. Like, what the heck? So it was just, the episode at the end was almost kind of a mess because I didn't really understand what the character motivations were. And I think that is almost a problem. We might get more. I know this is a mystery show. I know we're not going to get all of the answers in one episode, which is fine. But I have to be honest, I was lost kind of half the episode, and the emotional beats hit. And of course, everything with the mothers, Mother Anasea, even Coral, I really connected with. But after that, there wasn't much else for me to really appreciate. I do want to talk about the acting real quick, and then I'll talk about the tweet. The acting, people brought that up, and I was like, oh, you're kind of right. And then I was like, no, wait a second. Maybe we're being too harsh. So I actually rewatched the episode. I don't like the kids acting, and I feel really bad for saying that. There's no hate to them whatsoever. I know they probably did their best with what they had. And again, like I said, I'm really not angry over it. But I do think that the kids acting did was a crutch of the episode, which is not good when your episode is mainly of these main kids. I don't know if there were issues at all or if we could have done retakes, but it just wasn't played as if it was real. Which I know is really hard for young actors as well, especially with Star Wars. I don't know how real the sets were, or if it was a green screen, and that could be really hard to act with as well. Um, but I gotta be honest, and it definitely did take me out of the episode a couple times, and even not just knowing who was who. It's not good when I can only kind of identify your character with, okay, she's the angry one. Like, no, you have to have more nuance with that, and I need you to give me more. And that can be really hard. Like I said, no hate to the child actors. They did okay. I just felt like maybe we could have done a couple more takes. And I do feel like it could have been better and could have been more, I don't know, acted better. But of course, I'm not an actor. I don't know their process, how that went. So, no hate to them. I think they did as much as they could, but I do just want to say that it did take me out a little bit. Lastly, before I move on to episode 4, I wanted to bring in this thread because immediately when I saw it, I bookmarked it. It is everything I was thinking, but put into really thoughtful words. At Helicate, Hell Stars Acolyte Era. And like I said, they put this perfectly, saying, when the Jedi arrive and they are talking to Mother Anasea. The scene was so fucking amazing to see the Jedi from a point of view that isn't their own, that doesn't hide the weird mortality of their actions, spying and invading a home to invite a highly impressionable child to be tested. The Jedi don't take children. I guess they don't take children, but that doesn't stop them from using their power. political or physical, to threaten families of other children they invite into their ranks. Not even OSHA's clearly favorable POV was able to disguise it, because it's clear to see that they act as if they were just passing by, with no underlying meaning, as they scout the planet and subsequently break into a home to force the mother's hands into testing for something they already know the result, and eventually absorbing the kids into their ranks. And then there was Soul. He appears as such a gentle soul, sweet and so idealistic. He was one of those children invited so early into the Jedi ranks. He was 4, who makes a decision at 4. He clearly taught that this was the correct way. He believes, trusts it. The adults in the room know it's it. The adults in the room know what's going on, though. Everything is tense. It isn't a happy or sweet scene. It's a thinly veiled hostage situation. I've even been okay with how the Jedi find and take Force-sensitive kids, and I'm glad the show's finally talking about this. Just absolutely worded perfectly, and just to reinstate, I have never liked the Jedi. They've never been really my favorite. That's why I don't really connect with the prequels that well. And it's probably my least favorite era, just because it's so glorified Jedis and everyone thinks they're good. And I'm like, now granted, I'm not all on Anakin's side. I do think there are problems with the dark side, and the Empire is definitely evil. But the corruption started very early. And I think people just think that, oh no, Jedi are good, Sith are bad. And like, Star Wars is so much more nuanced than that, no matter if George Lucas wanted to tell that or not. That's kind of what you have to suck it up with, because that's so true. I don't feel that way when it's Rey with Luke. I feel like Luke made almost the same mistakes with like Ben in pressuring him to go, and that's a whole different conversation we will get to another day because my thoughts are there. But with Rey trying to, you know, bring Ben Solo back and then wanting to start, of course, the new Jedi Order, I'm interested to see how that goes about, but I'm here for it. So I'm not anti-Jedi. I do think the Jedi are good at heart, but I think the system that the Jedi have does not work. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about episode 4. All right, so we are back with episode 4. It is currently the day after episode 4 has dropped, and to tell you the truth, I am a bit done with the fandom menace right now. Literally, I tweeted last night before all of this went down today, right when the episode ended. All that I posted was episode 4 of The Acolyte was really good. I liked how fast-paced this season is going, and I was so sad when the episode ended. I want more. And then that led people to rage click me and basically say that I'm a Disney shrill and that, yeah, it's not canon. So, that being said, this episode was really good, and I loved it, and everyone can shut the hell up. It has problems. I will be completely honest with that. There are a couple things that I do want to talk about, because there are big problems, and I feel like big gaps, but Ki-Adi-Mundi is not one of those problems, so we will move on from that. But first, we get to see the new planet, Kofar, which is giving me Jurassic Park Endor vibes, but it doesn't remind me immediately of Endor. So I really appreciated that. It was a different world setting that I wasn't like, okay, Endor 2.0. It was different enough, and I appreciated that. So of course we saw Klekna making his stew, and then it kind of zooms in on the symbol on his walls with this ominous music. And that symbol, I immediately thought, okay, wait, that looks a lot like the witch's symbol. What connection does that have? I'm really confused of how that ties in, and that made me really excited as to what that could lead um, to. So that was cool. I do wish we saw more of Collecna. I know there's a comic coming out about him, and I'm actually very interested in reading it. And I think that's actually one comic that I'm really surprised by that I want to actually read and know more about this character, just because it is our first Wookiee Jedi. But I really was expecting more out of him this episode, and yeah, I mean that twist was good, but yeah, I really was expecting more. Osha thanks Jackie for finding May. And of course, today it also came out, literally, that Jackie's actress was kind of playing it as if Jackie had a little crush on Osha. And that there was kind of a connection there, which, oh my god, do not tease me with a good time. I don't know how true that is, not from the actor standpoint. It could have been like Oscar Isaac playing Poe Dameron wanting to have a relationship with Finn. How canon is that, though? That's kind of my question. I would definitely ship Osha and Jackie. I don't know their ship name yet, but I'm there for it. But I also, without shipping, I feel like their connection is really cool, and I'm glad they didn't go the way of Jackie being jealous of Osha because, you know, Osha had a connection with Saul, or Osha kind of be jealous of Jackie because Jackie's what she wanted to be. I love how they're just friends and there's no added drama that needs to be there. So I really do appreciate them not going to adding the extra drama in because, in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, people aren't like that all the time. So I appreciated that Osha was thanking Jackie, and Jackie didn't want her to go. And in that scene, I do want to touch on how Jackie was like, well, you're leaving already? You know, they were still, it seemed like they had bonded a bit more after episode 2. And I was missing that. Now, this is kind of the theme with this episode, to where I feel like we're missing so much that it doesn't necessarily take me out of the story because I'm a writer. I'm used to reading, you know, filling in the gaps of these stories. So I can use my imagination to piece it all together. But what sucks about these Disney Plus shows, specifically the live action, I feel like the animated have a bit more leeway to do this, but they have no time for filler episodes. And as much as we use the term filler episodes, which a lot of people think are not important and have no meaning, for these filler episodes, we would have been able to connect more with Osha and Jackie, and Osha and Soul, even Osha and Yord, or of course May and Quimar. And I feel like that was missed. And even with the Jedi Order, of course, we have Venestra and the Jedi Council wanting to keep it under wraps still. And even more Jedi finding out about May. I find it interesting of like, I wanted to see the progression of that. And I feel like it was a bit rushed. Now, me in storytelling, I like when things are rushed. In the sense, okay, that it's a good story and that I could piece things together because I can right now, not to where I'm just completely lost and they jump from 0 to 100, which I'll talk about in a little bit because I feel like that does happen in the worst way possible. But for them kind of moving forward along, it makes me feel like, hey, we're on episode 4. Like, there's still so much story left. We have 4 more episodes, right? But I feel like we're going to be able to kind of finish out the story in a way. Do I think, I was listening to, of course, Molly and Alex brought up a great point today in their live stream that it probably was more suited for a movie. And I have to agree with them. Quite honestly, I feel like this would have been a really, really good movie. And actually would have, with the fast pace, it would have been well into movie form. But when it's TV show form, the cool thing about TV, and I think what I don't think it's Leslie Headland's fault. I don't think she really, really wanted to make a TV show, in my opinion. I think she actually wanted to make a Star Wars movie, but Disney execs said, we don't know about this. That's going to be way more money. This is not part of the Skywalker saga. Let's play it safe and do a TV show. And which is smart financially, but at the same time, I'm a little mad at Disney for not making the money decision to put out that movie. But quite honestly, with the hate that it's getting, I don't know how, well it would have done for Lucasfilm or Disney. So I don't think they're that wrong for thinking that. But I do think it would have been better in the movie form than it being a TV show. And anyway, I had to shout them out too because they've just been a beacon of hope for a lot of us podcasters, but even just people in the fandom that are trying to stay positive and trying to just enjoy the Acolyte like we want to. And I watched, of course, their weekly live stream today, and it was just, I could see how drained they were mentally. And, of course, I feel them on that because I'm feeling that a bit myself right now with Star Wars. Not for any of the content that Star Wars is putting out or my own enjoyment. It's just the people. But it was great to see them. So please do go support Star Wars Explained because they're amazing. But I do feel like this episode would have been better. This entire series would have been better as a movie. And this episode, I think, really showed that. So, of course, Venestra, the rest of the Jedi Council. I do like actually the scene with Ki-Adi-Mundi and him saying he thinks it's a Jedi that is turned. They don't use the word Sith at all, which I really do appreciate, and I think that was Leslie's entire point. They refuse to use the word Sith, and I wonder if Sol is going to be the one that breaks that, and then he's going to be the one that kind of gets turned away from the Jedi Order because they don't believe him. And it's crazy that they're all thinking, oh, it's a vigilante or it's just a Jedi turned bad. They refuse to even say dark side user or Sith, which I find is interesting. And that's why Ki-Adi-Mundi, people were freaking out about that too. That's mainly why he says what he says in either it's Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. I think it's Phantom Menace. Which makes sense, and I think them adding him in there, it gives kind of why he would say that in the Phantom Menace. And of course, people lost their shit over that, but I digress. Another thing that I noticed, because I'm very much a costume-oriented person, I love looking at concept art for costumes, and costumes tell a story. When I look at art, or when I focus on art, I mainly focus on the outfits. Now, I hate dressing up, and I just don't hate... I hate clothes for myself, but when you're in a world, or when you're creating a story, a painting, outfits can tell so much of a story without using words. It's a very much a visual pinpoint. And for me, something that I noticed was that Sol is in a brown robe. While everyone else is in white. And I do wonder if that foreshadows something. Foreshadows something in the sense that maybe Sol is the one that will turn. Maybe Sol was the one that made the biggest mistake with all of this. He's the only one left to tell the story of what truly happened. And I do think too, I know, I said that I'm the number one May hater. And of course, I kind of digress, but we're keeping the thumbnail in. This gives very much vibes of The Last Jedi, of unreliable narrator, which I personally hate, but it is what it is. People still think that Luke had crazy eyes and wanted to kill Ben Solo, because that was from Kylo's POV. And yet when we see it from Luke's POV, he thought about it, but he didn't he wasn't even going down. He legitimately just thought about it. And like that one flash second was what Ben Solo took from that experience. And it's like, of course, people cannot understand media literacy. But I feel like with this, that was kind of me too. I'll put myself out there and saying, I was like, no, May's evil. Like, I can't believe she would have done this. But now I'm kind of thinking, especially from hearing people's different points, I think the truth is going to come out, and I think it's going to be different from May's perspective, and from Osha's perspective. Especially when we see another flashback, maybe next episode, or even episode 6 or 7. I think we'll see it from May's point of view and see where either the Jedi were wrong, or where where Osha was kind of being the one that wasn't giving May the time of day. So I do think it might be interesting. I'm still not fully on May yet, but we'll see. Let's get back on track. I love Basil, the tracker, and he's just a little cutie. Oh my gosh. I think it immediately reminded me from that one book where Han Solo was fighting that otter, that everyone always brings up every month. But it's nice to see him kind of put to live action, and is really cute. I also love seeing multiple Jedi together when they're traversing the forest and when they're walking on that cliffside. I don't know. It's just something about it. It was nice seeing them all together that was out of the prequel, like live action and stuff. So I appreciated that. What I found interesting too is that Osha wants Yor to do something if May doesn't turn. She doesn't seem to have much faith in her sister at all. Osha seems very honestly turned by vengeance, almost a little bit more than May. And I think this might lead into of the unreliable narrator. How evil truly is May, and how truly chaotic evil is Osha. What? There's still so many questions, and that even makes me more invested in their story. And I try to see the bigger picture, but I'm sorry, guys. May just really, Anaseo was like my queen, my literal mother, and when she ended up killing her, man, I freaking lost it. So I do think May will turn, and I think we'll learn more about May, but right now she's still on my not so good list. The bug things are really creepy. I did not like that. One of my favorite quotes from this episode was, "We are not defined by what we do, but what we survive." And I think that a lot of people connected with that quote, as well as myself. So I found that was beautiful. May betrays Quimar. Funny story. I, of course, take notes, as y'all know, every time I write the episodes. And I was literally typing in, I ship Quimar and May, because they were getting kind of close. They were kind of walking around each other. I'm like, ooh, I can kind of see this as a ship. And right as I typed that down, May betrays Quimar. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking serious? I was really pissed off, actually. I was like, girl, like, he wasn't, I don't know. I think Quimar, I love him. He's such a cool, like, funny character, and I love his kind of mannerisms and just his way of speaking. And I felt like May choosing Osha was kind of a whiplash. It was very quick. And that was one of the other main complaints for this episode that I actually do agree with. It was very quick turn. Now, granted, while she's walking with Quimar keeps saying, like, oh, well, he kind of keeps tempting her and saying, well, Osha's still there. Does that change anything to the master? It's almost like he's prodding her to want to switch sides, which is interesting. Now, the biggest theory that we have right now is Quimar is the Smilo Ren, is the Sith that we see at the end of the episode. I love it. I say give Quimar a bigger badass role. And I think that would be really cool, also another twist. And I feel like I wouldn't mind if it's someone else, but I would love if it was Quimar. So I think we'll see. But I do think May choosing Osha was just done way too fast. As I said at the beginning of this episode for review, I like how fast-paced it was, that we didn't have to spend 3 to 4 episodes with Osha making up with Soul or Jackie or them going on adventures. But yeah, I would have liked if May actually had a bit more time to think about, okay, wait, I've already killed 2 Jedi. It's like, is it smart for me to turn back now? And Qamar's right. Like, the Jedi are so gonna put her in prison. Like, what is her thought process here? So I'm a bit like, I still don't really trust her. Why would she just flip like that? Would she want to kind of get behind Jedi lines and kill her master so then she could go with Osha and then they can become the 2 most powerful? Like, there's something more there, and I think we might just have to wait for the next episode. Solo's hiding something, and I was really pissed off when he said, like, I will explain it all to you soon when we get May back. I'm like, no, explain it to me right now, please. Because yeah, he definitely has done something and is hiding something, and I don't trust him. I'm part of the Soul Squad, but like, please, please don't make me hate Soul 2. Like, he's just such a ray of sunshine, and I'm scared for him. I'm very, very scared for him. I was shocked when Kolechna was dead. That was a twist I was actually shocked at, and I appreciated the show for doing that because normally I'm not outwardly shocked. But yeah, him dying, I was like, oh shit. Like, I literally said that out loud. I was like, whoa, okay, Star Wars, I see you. I didn't think you were gonna do that. Um, and I love when that happens because, like I said, I rarely kind of get surprised, especially with Star Wars. But this, I was like, ooh, that's a good twist. I was a little bit concerned though that I'm like, oh shoot, now she's gonna get framed if the Jedi walk in, and you know, great. Now she's not gonna be able to defend herself, saying, "Well, I didn't kill him." Like, okay, girl, no one's gonna believe you. But I was happy when, of course, the sis showed up and just her realizing that, oh my god, my master's here. And her realizing that, I think, was really, really cool. The Sith looked amazing. Of course, Milo Ren. That's kind of what I'm gonna call him for right now. Quimar, the cool Quimar. But yeah, he was sick, and just how he floated down, I thought that was really cool, and just almost looked like a wraith of death, right? Which I think is what they wanted to portray, and I thought that was super cool. So I screamed when it was it. I verbally screamed. I was so mad, mainly because I did not want that to end. I need more story. Give me more story. So, overall, I think this episode was good. I didn't overly hate it. I just felt like the beats were quick. I still don't trust May. I do think I'm still the #1 May hater. I don't trust her yet, but I am willing to trust her. I will keep an open mind. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode, and we're gonna try to stay strong, guys. We really are. So I'm gonna try to keep positive for you guys and for myself mentally, because I really am enjoying the show, and you guys know I love my Star Wars. So we shall see if it all works out. But thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the next one.